comment there. Or you can, I believe you can raise your hand somehow. I don't see the button, but I know for those of us who are more fluent in Zoom meetings than I am, I know there's a way to raise your hand. And then there's also, you can unmute yourself and say, I have a comment, can I be recognized, please? So if anyone has a comment at this time, again, chat button, or raise your hand, or unmute yourself and request to speak.
Aaron, this is Amy
Yes.
St. Ange. Amy St. Ange, 139 Riverside Drive. First off, I did just hit the recording button because I almost forgot it.
That's fine.
Second of all, I do have a comment for this evening. There was some chatter on Facebook in regard to the recent pass-through, drive-through election or referendum that occurred in Vernon. And yesterday I went into the town hall and I had my rose-colored glasses on and I was like, yes, we're gonna do a drive-through referendum. And if you remember, I messaged you that morning and said I'm gonna look into it. I did receive word back from our attorneys. The first message that I received from them yesterday said the following: the executive order regarding municipal budget adoption does not authorize a drive-by vote, and in fact makes it mandatory that the budget be adopted exactly as your resolution stated. And that was the resolution the Board of Selectmen adopted a couple weeks ago. I expect that the Vernon exercise in violation of the stated order will draw some clarification from the governor's office, which it hasn't as of, let me just find the email from today. Today they sent an additional email at 3:40 p.m. stating it's not yet official, but we just received word that the governor plans to enforce the mandatory provisions of the executive order requiring the budget making authority to adopt the budget and prohibiting approval through any kind of referendum. So I did just want to let the public know that it was my intention to potentially go forward with some type of social distanced budget referendum. However, we have been advised by our attorneys that this is not going to be able to move forward because the governor is going to hold fast to the executive order that he had put in place already. That being said, I believe that Orla, our finance director, had sent out to all of the departments in the town hall a request that they alter their budget if they could. And I think she'll be presenting those adjustments that each department made at tonight's meeting. So we did do our best to try to trim the budget wherever we could in each department. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Any other citizens' comments?
Aaron, Melinda had her hand up.
I was going to say, Melinda, is your hand up? Okay.
So even though I'm not a citizen, I am the superintendent of schools, and I want to dovetail on what Amy just said and just remind everyone that the budget we presented to the Board of Finance in the town is to maintain the programs we currently have in place. The increase really are due to healthcare costs, wage increases, and special education students that have moved into the district.
Thank you. Let the record show that was from the superintendent of schools. So no need to record the superintendent's address because the superintendent does not live in Thompson. Any other citizens' comments at this time?
Aaron, if I could.
Go ahead, Sean.
Sean Brissett, Whittemore Ave. I know that this is Board of Finance, but I just want to throw it out there to Amy. Is that something that will hold regardless of when the state opens up? Is there any chance later in the year? Because everything else has been pushed off. So if there's any way, finding out if there would be some type of extension. That would be appreciated. The other thing I wanted to just quickly mention, I know Jess Bolte has mentioned it every week, but the conversation about citizens' comments at the end of the meeting, I know a couple people who were hoping to speak tonight. I don't see them up here because they weren't sure if they were going to get home in time. And thus they're going to miss citizens' comments when they had comments to make. I don't understand why it's not even being discussed at your regular meeting. And this is the time where, if ever we need 2 citizens' comments, it would be now in this atmosphere that we're in. So I just hope really it gets on your next regular meeting's agenda and is at least discussed amongst the board. I think it would be very beneficial to have citizens' comments both at the beginning and the end. And I've mentioned that in the past regarding, even if it was just limited to the issues discussed in the meeting. I know time is always, of the essence with these things. So if you left it for just the any items that was discussed during the particular meeting, it's better than nothing. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Looks like technically it's a question. Maybe this is something that Amy can help Dick Trudeau with offline, but Dick Trudeau 192 Wager Road says, for Amy, is a copy of that resolution available on the town website. So Amy, when you get a chance, if you can reach out to Dick and help him out with that, that'd be appreciated.
Erin, this is Amy St. Ange. I absolutely will reach out to Dick. I believe it might be in one of the minutes posted, but I'll find out. But he did want to sort of address, again, Amy St. Ange, 139 Riverside Drive. We have just opened up a new email address. It is, the email address is budget@thompsonct.org. And people can send an email directly to that email address with comments in regard to the budget. And that's going to be available throughout this budget season until the budget is approved. So that's another means of communication aside from a second citizen's comments. People can send that anytime, and it comes directly to me, and I will forward it to the Board of Finance.
Thank you. Amy, could you do me a favor and could you enter that email address into the chat button and make sure it's addressed to everyone? Because I think then everyone who's connected to this meeting would be able to see the email address for that. Any other citizens' comments at this time? Again, you could put your comments into you click the chat button and put them into the window and hit enter. I see Amy Sinas just put the budget@thompsonct.org email address. It should be available for everyone to see and write down. You can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself and request to be recognized.
Aaron?
Go ahead. Who's this?
It's Rhonda Rooney.
Oh,
I'm echoing
okay.
now.
It's okay.
I just wanted to add to Sean, if you could let him know, or Sean, that let everybody know they can dial in without being on video. So if they're in their car or they're not home or they're not able to make the meeting, they can still dial in and make comments. That's all. Thank you.
Rhonda, it sounded like you said if someone can't video in, they can call in by phone.
Correct.
Thank you. If there are any other comments at this time, you can enter them in the chat button or raise your hand or unmute yourself and request to be recognized. Okay. I believe that's it for citizens' comments. Okay. All right. Thanks to everyone who shared your comments. I appreciate it. We'll move on to budget workshop. And I do recall when we concluded our last meeting on Monday night, we were looking at that budget tool that Rob Wurge introduced to the Board of Finance, this year, and we were discussing, see, says, oh, okay. Allison Botaw just put something into the chat screen for Dick Trudeau. Okay. We're looking at so Orla, if you're able to take us to that screen, that image that had that it arranged budgeted last year versus proposed this year from a dollar standpoint as well as a percentage standpoint, and it was a way for us to categorize, if you will, organize, if you will, the various line item increases to see which ones had the greatest amount of increase and which ones had the lowest. Not sure, is Orla available? There she is.
Aaron, it's up on the screen now.
The screen is blank on my end. I can see your cursor, but I don't see the spreadsheet.
Okay, let me try it again. I'll stop sharing and redo it again.
Okay, thanks.
Is it up now?
No.
I don't see it.
Hmm.
Right now, it's a black screen.
Okay. Let me try something else.
Okay, take your time.
So nobody could see that document, no?
Correct. No one can
No.
see it.
It's weird because we haven't had any problems up to now.
Right.
This is Amy St. Ange. I did just double check the security feature and it is showing that participants can share their screen. So I'm not certain what's going on.
Sure. Okay, so I'm sharing it again. Any luck with anybody?
No, interestingly enough, at the top of the screen, there's a green bar and it says you are viewing Orla McKiernan Raftery's screen. So it's pulling, supposedly, it's telling us that it's pulling your screen, but it's not bringing in the content.
Okay, I'm going to just remove myself from the meeting and go back in again, okay?
Well, Orla, you know what? Close Excel and open it back up first before you leave the meeting.
Yeah, it might be worthwhile.
Yeah, just relaunch Excel before you separate from the meeting completely. Just a
Rob
thought.
Good
Mann,
idea.
Board of Finance.
Go ahead,
Right
Rob.
to the right of where you saw that, Aaron, there was actually an option. I clicked on it and it said, it asked if I wanted to view screen and had a few other options. Maybe that's just what we had to do.
I noticed that too. I wonder if that's something that Orla would do on her end so that it would impact all of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just about to click it to open it up and she tried something
Me
different.
too.
Yeah, you know what,
Me
Rob?
too.
Rob, man, this is Amy St. Ange. I clicked on it too. I clicked on it and it wasn't relevant as far as opening it up.
No, it's gonna push from Orla's end. Something's hung up on Orla's side.
Okay.
We'll get through this.
Aaron, while she's working on that, can you hear me?
Your audio is, it's peculiar. It's like you start off speaking and I can hear you, and then your voice starts to soften away as you finish your sentence.
Okay, I'm gonna try to dial back in on my phone. Thanks.
Aaron, that's the same way that I heard Rhonda as well. Kind of
Yeah,
started
works for all
strong
of
and
us.
it faded away. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, Orla, if she's on, she could also maybe close other Excel worksheets. Sometimes if you've got multiple, so that could also be a challenge.
Good point.
Yeah. Aaron, Rob Wurge, Board of Finance, could we use this time for a question, perhaps? Rainey Moore,
Sure.
I believe, is on.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob Ward.
My question to Rainey was, thank him for the email correspondence that you highlighted moments ago, in speaking about the reserve or the guidance on the reserve. Was there any measure taken into consideration for potentially increased revenue on the interest side? While people will be late, if they're late beyond the window, that the acceptable window, I think there's a 90-day window that was granted, but if they're beyond that, there will be interest accrued. Is that something that we should think about considering, and could that potentially offset some of the reserve for the bad debt?
Yeah, well, can you hear me?
I can, Rainey, and I don't
Rob,
know.
can you
It's
hear
just
me?
kind of an open question.
Okay.
I can, Rainey. Loud and clear.
Sure. I can answer to that. Absolutely. That is the reason that in that email that I sent out earlier today to the group, that I indicated that I was not going to recommend reducing the income side of the ledger that I had initially given to our finance director. Some towns are, in fact, lowering revenue expectations for next year. But I'm thinking that, well, I'm hoping, we have great citizens in this community that tend to pay their taxes on time and pay a very, very high overall percentage of the taxes by year end. So I'm comfortable enough at this point to say that we don't need to change the revenue, certainly not upwards, but I think we can leave it alone and not reduce it. This whole thing started from the State of Connecticut Tax Collectors Association, and they have sent out a couple of notices over the last couple of days suggesting to tax collectors around the state that they should be talking to their finance directors and their Board of Finances, letting them know that this is going to be a very, very difficult year to collect taxes. The state has a 20 to 25% unemployment rate right now. We know that's going to improve. However, there are going to be a lot of other bills that taxpayers are going to be catching up on as we move through the summer and into the winter and closer to the end of next year. So my thought was, and this is something that I know we've talked about at Board of Finance meetings in the past, maybe not in the last year or two, but certainly for a number of years prior, is that our allowance for uncollected taxes is extremely low, and that's been pointed out by our auditors over the years. It has been at $210,000 for a number of years now. That's why I am, and quite frankly, if you do the math, that means that we're talking at more than a 99% collection rate in taxes. We're very fortunate that we very often do that, slightly more sometimes, but I think in this environment, that's going to be difficult to achieve. So I was just suggesting to you, Aaron, and to the other members of the Board of Finance that, this is not the right year, but there's never a right year, and that's why we look the other way every year, that an increase of some sort ought to be made to the provision for uncollected taxes. And I suggested a 50% increase from where it is now at 210,000, adding 105,000 to bring it to 315,000. That would still be a significantly lower rate than the recommended rate across the tax collectors across the state of Connecticut. Most towns budget a 96 to 98% collection rate. We budget about a 99.1% collection rate. We can gamble on it, but I just want to get it out now that we may be sitting here in next April or May or June of 2021 saying, wow, we're not going to collect all of what we expected to collect in taxes because it's been a difficult year. And if we don't have a reserve to cover it, it's going to have to come from fund surplus or somewhere else. So I'm not telling anybody what to do. I just wanted to get it out there. It was a recommendation of the Tax Collectors Association to notify their boards of finances and their boards of selectmen and their taxpayers. So that's what I'm doing. Does that help explain that a little bit?
Rainey, Rob Warich here. It does. Your email is great, but
Yep.
the added context now, I think really helps. I think having the hard data, having the benchmark of 96, 98, it's clearly well described and with data and facts behind it. So I don't want to speak for everyone, but for myself, that's very helpful context in addition to your email. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thanks.
This is Steve Herbert, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Steve.
And maybe you can help me out on this. Do we actually establish a reserve at the end of each year and maintain that reserve or add to it each year? Or I think that there's a projected bad debt, if you will, but it's never kept in a reserve. It's just goes to the general fund at the end, I believe. Maybe Orla, you can help me out on that. As we establish a bad debt amount, but do we keep that in reserve and add to it as we go forward, or how do we work the bad debt going forward year to year?
Steve, are you asking me or are you asking Orla?
Well, if you know the answer, I'd like to know.
Okay. Well, are we keeping it the same? Yes, we kept it at 210,000 since it was increased to 210,000 3, 4, 5 years ago. If that's the question that you're asking, I'm not sure.
No, not exactly. I know we establish each year an amount that we expect to be uncollectible. Do we?
Right.
Do we maintain that as a reserve going forward? I guess we might call it.
Well, yeah.
Or do we?
Yeah.
First, go ahead.
The reserve. I was going to say the $210,000 reserve. If you look at the front page of the the recap page, is added on to the amount of taxes that need to be collected. If you do the math, I don't have it in front of me.
No. I
left it at the
understand. I
office
understand
today.
that, but that means that we budget, if you will, $210,000 worth of reserve for uncollectible taxes.
Correct.
Right, and do we actually use it, the full amount each year, or do we have it and add to it each year as we go forward? It sounds like we haven't been adding to it, but I'm not sure what happens to the reserve that we budget. Do we zero it out? What do we do with it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the accounting entry is that Orla makes from a finance director's standpoint, but I can tell you that we have not added to it. You keep asking, do we add to it? We keep that same $210,000 there every year at that level. I don't know what the journal entry that the finance director makes. So I think that's an Orla question.
It sounds like we set it up as a potential expense, but don't keep it in reserve to go from year to year. It looks like, I think every year we budget the same 210 as an expense each year, as opposed to establishing it as a reserve. And then as you go forward, if you had 210 in 18, if you put another 210 in 19, it would add to that amount unless you actually apply bad debt against the reserves. That's sort of the question.
Yeah, and that's an Orla question. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what she does with that. That's a journal entry that I'm sure she makes.
And this is Amy St. Orla is still trying to get back into the meeting and get her workbook from her Excel spreadsheet up onto the screen. So I believe she was shutting down her laptop and restarting it. So.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
What I think would normally happen is that I think, again, this year we've got 210 established as a reserve for bad debt. That should stay on the books, doesn't get reversed at the end of the year. It should stay on the books, and then you would normally every year, typically you would add to it for projected bad debt, and you would subtract from it for actual bad debt cost as you've decided to write off. I don't think, I'm not sure what we do, but I'm fearful that we don't actually write off against it and we don't add to it as from year to year. We just reverse it and put it into our general fund.
You may very well be right there, Steve.
Yeah, I guess.
I think
part
it
of the
would be
question is
an
what
added
happened in our
expense.
actual bad debt expense.
Yeah, if we did increase it by 100,000 or whatever we increased it by, that would be an additional expense because we'd be moving it from 210 to 315 in this case. So that would be a new current year expense.
Unless we have 210 already on the books for 2020 and can just carry that forward maybe with an incremental 100,000. So it's not, wouldn't be 300,000 or $310,000 cost. It'd only be an incremental 100,000.
That's what Rainey's saying, I think, Steve.
No, that is what I'm suggesting. We have 210 in there already.
I don't, maybe, but I'm not sure we do. We have it in the budget, but not as a reserve. At the end, on July 1, I think it gets reversed entirely as opposed to maintained. It's a kind of an accounting question. I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but hopefully we just increase it from year to year and subtract from it, reduce it by the amount of actual bad debt expense that we incur. And maybe do you know what our bad debt expense was for or will be for 2020?
No, I don't know that at this point. I will bring my report over to the Board of Finance, as you know, in June at our June meeting and ask for suspense items and motor vehicle and personal property to be, to be moved to the suspense account. So we'll have that number at that particular point in time. And then the difference is the uncollectible real estate tax. So I can certainly tell you what that is at our June meeting.
Do you remember what it was last year by any chance?
Yeah,
I should remember. No, I'm not trying to.
But I don't. Yeah, I've forgotten.
Okay.
I could let you know tomorrow morning.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Karen, it's Rhonda. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Rhonda.
I didn't want to speak. I'm just testing my speakers. That's all.
Your
hard
audio
for me to
is
hear you.
very faint. Yeah, it's hard to hear you.
Can't hear you at all, Rhonda. Oh, Rhonda, this is Steve. I cannot hear you at all.
Aaron, Rob Wirch here. May not be the most ideal solution, but if Orla's continuing to have problems, if she would email me the Excel sheet, I could try to be a surrogate here and do my best Orla impression with Excel. So I'd be happy to put it up on the screen if that is a backup option for us.
It's worth a try. Well, I don't know if you're connected by audio in any way. If not, I will send her a text message. Okay, Rob Word, just got a response from Orla saying she's going to email the Excel file and/or files to you so that you can try putting them up on the screen.
Okay. I'll look for the email. Thank you.
See if this works.
Aaron, Steve Herbert, Board of Finance, wondered, as long as it's kind of a dead time here, if we might just make sure that we put, we've had a couple of members of the audience request that we discuss the second citizens' comments. I wonder if we might make sure we put that on our next regular meeting agenda, if that's possible.
Happy to do that. I had mentioned at some point in the budget season that I was hoping we could just get through this budget before we discuss whether or not to add a second round of citizens' comments, because I felt like the importance of getting this budget done, especially in this unprecedented year, when you compare a debate about whether or not to add a second round of citizens' comments when there's already a round of citizens' comments at every single meeting, whether or not to add a second round versus more time spent on getting this budget done. I just felt like the two of them probably didn't quite compare. We can certainly see what other members of the Board of Finance think, and if they want to take time out of what otherwise might be time spent on deliberating the budget to discuss another round of citizens' comments, then so be it.
That's why I suggest at our next regular meeting.
Okay, great. Happy to do it. Thanks, Steve.
Aaron, Rob Word, just also in the silence here. If I recall, we actually had it on as a topic a few months ago. I think it was in February, and there were only four of us. Yeah, it was in February. There were four of us, and we so it's not that we weren't looking to address it. We actually had it, but we felt that it was important enough to make sure all six of us were there. We had a quorum at 4, but I think we all felt like, well, let's make sure everybody has some input on that topic.
And you're right, that was the case.
Update on email. I do not have an email from Orla.
Okay. Orla says, okay, got it. She says it was sent at 7:40 p.m. So, you know how it is with email. Sometimes it's got to go halfway around the world and then come all the way back.
Aaron?
Go ahead, Rhonda.
Rhonda, I just wanted to ask, I did read in the Thompson email that I got that we have a deadline on this budget, that it's expected to be done by like mid-May. Is that correct? Or?
Rhonda, don't mean to interrupt you, but you're fading away again, at least for my audio.
I agree.
I don't know what to do with my
bad
audio tonight. I guess I'll be very quiet tonight, but I just wanted to find out, do we have a deadline to get this budget out? I thought I read something on one of the emails that we had a certain amount of meetings that we could attend based on the executive order, and then we had to have a budget out by a certain time. Is that correct?
And I heard you much more clearly that time. So whatever you did that time, that's probably what you'd want to do for the remainder of this meeting, so that everyone can hear you clearly. So at this time, the Thompson's budget resolution calls for, there was an extension, I believe. Amy Santa said she extended us out to May 7th so that we have tonight, we have Monday, May 4th, and we have Thursday, May 7th. At least according to Thompson resolution, the Thompson's schedule to get this done. So that's 3 total meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe Rob could just hold up the budget like that. Just a suggestion.
Probably a good one at this point. Oh, Rob, I can see it. I can see that it says this is a test.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Rob Orge.
Okay. I was on mute. I was talking to myself for a little while there. Frustrating.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's try this one more time. How are we doing there?
Yep.
Pretty good?
I can see that.
Okay. Bravo. Do we have Orla on audio? Okay, I don't think we have Orla on audio.
Hi, Rob, it's Orla. I'm here. That's you
Okay.
sharing the document, correct?
That's me sharing the screen. I'm not 100% familiar with all of the tabs, so having you on audio is important, and you could help guide us to different portions of this file.
Sounds good.
So Aaron, back to you.
Well, yeah, thanks, Rob Orge. Thank you, Orla. I know this is where we left off on Monday night, and we were talking about items up towards the top rows that increase the spend year to year, and we were talking about items down in the bottom rows that decrease the spend year to year. And I don't know if we had made any decisions yet to increase or decrease line items, but we hadn't just begun, but we had sort of recently gotten into this document.
Aaron, or Rob.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I didn't see the totals, but he just condensed it, so now I can see line V. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that, Ron. I just noticed myself. I wasn't moved over.
So Rob, could we just announce, just for the people that are on the screen, what line V represents, like the top number in comments? Right next to comments, the 177s, yeah, right there. Just so that everybody's.
Yeah, I'll attempt to do it. I think if we look at the formula sum 10 to 56, so that's 10 is here, which is 245, going all the way to 256, which is pretty far down.
Okay.
so sure, Orla, why that goes all the way to 256, maybe going to 60 is enough. But basically, Rhonda and team and everyone here, that this is intended to be the puts and takes of all these line items. So the fixed ones or partly fixed ones, Orla filled in. This is where we left off yesterday. So fringe benefits, health care, there's $142,000 added to the cost this year to the budget, and that's something that our hands are tied. We can't just cut that, or I mean, it's a contractual obligation. So she started filling in the ones that are kind of what she referred to as fixed, meaning that they have to be in. And then there's a number of negatives down here, and negatives are actually good things. They're not bad things when you think of negative. These are line items that year over year reduced from prior year budget. So all of these negatives add up and kind of help us generate a pool, if you will. So I think where we're at is that the 177 is all of the negatives that are reducing the year over year increase, plus all of the positives that are increasing year over year. Those are netting out to 177. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. And one more question. The changes that Amy spoke of, that each department had made changes to their budget and reduced where they could, has this spreadsheet been updated with those changes already, or does anybody know that?
That's probably an Orla question, so I'll pause, but I don't know if that necessarily has an impact here. It has an impact on the total year over year. But Orla, could you answer that question, please?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
And this is Amy Sainonge. Apparently, it wasn't calculated in for tonight's meeting, so I spoke a little early, prematurely.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm just checking to see if it's on that document. I'm not sure. It might be a separate document.
And while Orla's checking, just also to remind everyone, last week, I almost said last year, earlier this week, Aaron had showed some columns. Aaron, through Orla, they'd worked on some columns, one showing a 0 mil adjustment, one showing a 0.25 mil adjustment, one showing 0.5. And just to ground people, 0.5 mil was equal to $369,000.
That document actually is within that file. It's one of the, if you want to scroll to the end, Rob, I can show you which document that is. The one that you're referring to. So if you scroll over to the left-hand side, keep on going to the, okay, we're almost there. Nope, other end, sorry.
What's the number, Orla?
It's actually, it's got a narrative title. So if you continue going to the beginning of the document, I can show you which one it is.
Keep going.
Yep. Okay, starting mill rate with options.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we are. So a 0.5 increase in mill was 369,000. It's right here, or 2.2%. Okay, what tab were we on before that, Orla? What was the name of the tab?
The one you were on beforehand is 2 over from that, I believe. Going, there you go. I think it's that one. Click. Nope. 2 over from that. Next one. Okay, I think the one that I'm referring to that I made some adjustments to today based on our discussion with department heads. If you scroll back 2 before that, and it's under the title Possibles.
excuse me for a second. Rob Mann, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Bob.
Jim Belafance just called me on the telephone. He's been bumped out and he's having a hard time getting logged back in. So I just wanted you to know that he's not in the meeting right now. I got him on speakerphone.
I know it's cloudy out there, but is there a full moon tonight?
Rob Mann, you could tell him he can dial in on his phone. Of course, he's not.
Do you want to try to dial in on your phone?
And just for Rob Burge and Orla, there is a way to share your computer screen. I know that's a big deal with the school, with the town. But you know how computer guys can get on and go into the screen. I don't know if that would be helpful for Orla to be able to navigate with Rob sharing the screen somehow, so they're both on at the same time.
I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Rhonda. Rob Wirch here. It's in other words, I share my screen, but I give her remote control.
Yeah, I can't
control remotely.
Yeah. Then it would be, then she could navigate while, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's called Team Viewer for future reference.
Well, that's another application. That's a remote desktop application that's not part of Zoom, I believe.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say you could, no, it's not to share through Zoom, but you could share it through Rob, and then Rob can share his screen that he's sharing with you through Zoom. I don't know if it would work, but that's just a suggestion.
Okay, now I understand what you're saying. That requires some downloads, and you got to get an account, and
yeah,
it's one of the remote desktop options that we're considering.
If we're stuck in this situation for a long time, it might be something we want to check into. That's
absolutely. I'm pulling to everyone. Remote control could be accessed on Zoom under View Options near the green bar at the top. Request remote control. Hang on a second. Let's see. You're about to request remote control of Rob Ward's shared content. Let's see if you get anything, Rob.
I just had a window. I just have a window that popped up, Orla. It says that Orla is requesting remote control of my screen. So I'm going to approve it. Okay.
Okay, we've nothing to lose, right? Click to start. Okay.
There,
I think I'm
there
in.
you go.
Okay.
Now we're back to normal.
Okay,
we're
thanks,
back to normal. Okay.
Okay.
But we don't have Jim. But we were pausing for Jim as well, right?
That's right. Okay, I'll just hold off.
Technical difficulties.
Orla, Rob Wirch. When I move my mouse, does that mess you up?
No, move it now and I'll let you know. Nope. I see it moving around, but both of us can use it. That's fine. We'll make it work.
I'll just leave it alone.
Okay.
To have it.
I have no idea why I couldn't share the document tonight. It just doesn't make sense.
This will work.
Yeah. Okay, so I think you said we're waiting for Jim Bellavance, right?
Yes.
believe so. Do we still have, do we have, Aaron, do we have you? Aaron,
Okay.
are you on
Can you
mute?
hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry, I was on mute.
Shall we hold further, Aaron, or is Jim going to dial in? He might have an internet problem in his house. If he could dial in through cell or landline, that might work.
Yeah. I'll send him a text message to that effect. We might as well continue because it's just like if we had an in-person meeting and somebody was either not there or had to leave the room, it's the same difference. So we might as well continue on.
Okay, so what we did was we took the document that we discussed last week, and I approached each of the, as Amy had already noted, I approached each of the department heads and asked them to take a look at their budgets and any potential increases and basically anything that they could retake a look at and see if there's any way that we can reduce some of the costs that we were proposing for fiscal 21. A couple of the things that we were able to play with is in light of the fact some of the travel and conferences that had been planned for this current fiscal year are not going to happen. So most likely we were able to work it that some of those costs could get reduced in next fiscal year to bring the numbers down. Now, I can say as the finance director, I'm very proud of the department heads that came back to me with some great suggestions and great concessions and definitely a huge effort on behalf of the department heads to really take a look at every single line of their budgets to see where we could do some savings, because as we all know, there's been many discussions. This is going to be a very difficult year, you know, and we're constantly hearing about some possible doom and gloom, and we also received some information from Rainey tonight with regards to the revenues. So that being said, we started with the highest increase, which is transfers. That's broken down by a number of different items. Two of the things we're locked into is the increase for reval based on a contract and the increase for Turtle Out Trust. That is still tied in for accounting purposes. That's still tied into the 514,000 increase. That is, we don't have a lot of leeway on that, but it is washed out in the revenue side of things. I did break down a couple of different things. So the Turtle Out Trust, there was a request for sorry, not the Turtle Out Trust. There's a request for the Thompson Little League of 3,100. I made that not necessarily fixed or essential. So I'm suggesting reducing the budget by that amount. Some of the next line item would relate to Department of Public Works, including road resurfacing and the bridges, the salt shed design, and also the roll-off truck. At this time, I did speak with our DPW director, who noted to me, as I said, I previously presented my budget. There is no fluff to cut from my proposal. I spent a great deal of time modifying, reducing, and crunching numbers in order to present a budget that has the ability to carry my department through the upcoming year. A reduction to my proposal will only result in a reduction of services that we can provide. So that being said, we moved on to library funds. I had a discussion with the library director, and her suggested to keep the repairs fund and not add to the roof fund this year in light of other needs that the town is trying to address. So that will be an additional reduction of 25,000. Going down a couple of the items, unfortunately, we're fixed with health insurance at this stage. We've no updates with regards to health and workers' comp. We have no leeway right now with regards to making any reductions to the proposal on the budget.
This is Steve, Board of Finance, Steve Herbert, Board of Finance.
Go ahead.
Just on the fringes, before you go past those, when you budget the fringes for the employees of the town, do you assume everybody's taking the most expensive plan? What do you base your forecast on?
Our forecast is based on actual. So anybody that's currently on the plan, we budget the same plan for that person for next year. For any potential new hires, we budget average. And for anybody who's not on the plan, we currently don't budget, or we budget the minimum amount. So for example, when I say people who are not on the plan, people who would necessarily, who have chosen to take other health insurance options.
Thank you. That's good. Appreciate that.
So then the fire departments, so we have the majority of the increase proposed in fire departments is the fire department grant. So at this time, I'm putting $5,000 in for fixed out of that 106, 107. And that relates to contracts with regards to 911, Connecticut Water, and also the software. We have an annual fire department software, which is an annual renewal. The other amount is 102,000. At this time, I'm treating that as an essential. I think it's clear that the fire departments are in need of funding to be able to provide the service that is so desperately needed in this town. So at this time, I'm treating that as essential, which therefore we would not be in a position to reduce. On the contingency fund, so the increase is 55,000, which would bring it up to 130,000. A large amount of that relates to potential increases for the staff. We're in the process of negotiating our union contract this year, and at this time, we're proposing no increases. Obviously, it's up in the air. It has to be, has to go through the channels with regards to union and non-union employees. But in this time of great distress, I know Amy would agree, and I'm no doubt the Board of Selectmen would support this, but there is really no room for pay increases for any staff in the town hall or in the other town departments this year. I think we'll all be very grateful we have a job at the end of this whole process. So I've reduced the contingency down to 30,000, and that's really those dollar amounts that we tend to need during the year to transfer as a result of additional expenses that come up, whether it's a $5,000 appropriation to Teak because they have a desperate need for a repair, or any sort. That's just an example of the kind of essential expense that may be needed as a result of money that could be available in the contingency. But I do want to stress it does not include any pay increases. We've suggested removing that. On the Public Works, I've already shared some information from our Public Works Director, and I'll move on to Library Administration. So the Library Administration didn't have a substantial amount of increases. We are fixed for 3,500, and that relates to the changes to minimum wage in the state of Connecticut. There is a note in here and a comment from the Library Director, automated circulation, that's sublimation. And the 500 increase should be considered fixed, as that's built into our assessment and fees they charge us for a variety of services they provide us. Some are set by them and some are set by outside vendors. So that's outside of our control. So based on that, the original proposal was 10,838. I'm suggesting we take 6,500 out of that and leave the rest behind, which would cover the sublimation increase in the contract and also would cover the minimum wage requirements. I'm treating the animal control at this time as essential. We are looking to reopen the pound. So to do so, we do need that additional $10,000 at this time. So I'm treating that as essential. On the assessor side of things, I'm treating that $10,000 also as essential in light of the fact that there's so many changes going on in the assessors department at this time.
It's Steve again from Board of
Yes,
Finance.
go ahead, Steve.
On the animal control, why is it essential that we reopen the dog pound? Don't we save $10,000 by staying with NECOG?
Well, it was decided by the Board of Selectmen that we would look into opening the dog pound. So that's what we're looking to do.
I understand that's what the Board of Selectmen will do, but is this essential?
I would treat it as essential, yes. We want to ensure that we get the best service with regards to animal control in the town of Thompson. And my understanding is that that plan would be to reopen the pound.
Rob Mann, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead, Rob.
Wasn't it in discussion that it was possibly not going to be as expensive as NECOG charged more money than what the proposal was?
Yes, but what's built into this particular expense is the transition to a new animal control officer, which would include some additional training by the existing person in that position. And that would be potentially only for one fiscal year. After the first fiscal year of transition, we would go to just having one person in that role, and we would have a savings in doing so compared to the cost that was suggested by NECOG.
Okay, just one more question, Rob Mann, Board of Finance. wasn't there also money in an account that we were gonna lose if we didn't open it again?
There is a dog fund and there is a substantial fund at this stage, and we would be required, again, that would require some legal advice, but my understanding based on the type of fund that the dog fund is, we would potentially, there goes a beautiful dog. We would have to transfer funds to NECOG.
So that fund has more than $10,780 in it, correct?
It does have, yes.
Jim Bellavance, I think you need to, is it, Jim, do you have the dog? Are you the one who needs to mute?
It says that I'm muted.
There we go, now you're muted.
Okay, so Rob Mann, Board of Finance, I'm just gonna ask again, is there more than $10,780 in that fund that we might have to give up to NECOG?
There is, yes, more than 10,000 in that fund.
Thank you.
And-
Hold on, Erminger, Board of Finance. So meaning if we go in one direction or another this year, we're gonna lose that money? Is that what that means?
No, we won't lose it, but if we were to go the NECOG route, we would have to potentially transfer those funds into NECOG. If we were to stay in-house, we could use some of those funds to reopen the pound.
With the transfer of those funds, that if we went with the NECOG, we went the NECOG route and we had to transfer those funds to NECOG, would that constitute part of or all of the cost of our contract with NECOG for those services?
I'm unclear. I'd have to find out the legal advice on that.
I'm just wondering, because we know that if we contract with NECOG, it's going to cost a certain amount. And I'm wondering if that transfer is above and beyond the amount that it would cost for us to contract with NECOG for the year.
Are you looking at a way to save funds in next year's budget?
Well, I'm just thinking, whichever way, I feel like this is one of those years where whichever way is cheaper is I'm going to be viewing with favor. You know, if we have to contract, and I'm just speaking on behalf of myself, I don't speak on behalf of the other five. If we have to do the NECOG contract way for one more year because it's cheaper than reopening the Thompson Dog Pound, I'd be willing to go with that for one more year if it's cheaper. But if going that route means now all of a sudden NECOG gets some money that's sitting aside in a fund above and beyond the cost of the annual contract with them, then I might not be as favorable to that.
Okay. Well, let me do some research and find out with regards to the parameters, with regards to that fund. I think Amy is making a comment here. Suzanne Wachowski has been actively investigating the dog pound reopening and may have information to share. Suzanne, I can speak to this if you'd like.
Well, it's Suzanne, if you want to go ahead, if you can unmute yourself, go ahead and share.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. From what I understand, and I've had many discussions with the current ACO, the funds that are in this account, which are almost $69,000, some of them are donations, and that would stay within the town, but it would have to be sorted out, and the remainder of it would be owed to NECOG. So it's technically it's money that is taken in for licenses and fines and fees and things like that, and it would have to be turned over, is what I'm understanding. But also with this department.
Sorry, Suzanne. Rob Wood, Board of Finance. Suzanne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Rob, we're sorry to interrupt. You're going fast. Can you explain what owed to means? If we don't, if not donations. You said of the $69,000, the donations would have to stay probably because they were prescribed to a specific cause, but the balance, all other, would be owed to NECOG.
It would be given. It would have to be turned over to NECOG. These are fines and fees and things that have been collected while NECOG has been hired to do the job without a contract. Okay. So it's very specific. I've read up on it, and I believe I understand that These are very specific, and it would be turned over and it follows that contract. So the funds that
So we
we
don't-
have in this fund are not owned by the town of Thompson in that sense.
But we don't necessarily have a debt to NECOG right now. We don't have a liability to NECOG.
I think we have some outstanding bills for this current year, but we don't have a contract, so we're doing it kind of per diem as at will.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
So,
Go ahead.
and I also understand, I think, I looked at some of the, and I don't have the full budget in front of me. I apologize. I wasn't anticipating talking on this tonight, but I think that the bottom line for this department was, I'm sorry, I don't have the number, but I felt like this could be done for less, and I kind of have gone over that. And I think you could put forth if you know, the bottom line, if it were somewhere in around 32,000, and I don't know what the bottom line of it is right now. I think
Suzanne, it's Aaron McGarry. I'm looking at it, and it says selectmen proposed total for department $35,072. $35,072.
Even, you know, some of the costs that have been added into this could actually come out of that fund. That fund is meant to offset some of, you know, like the repairs on the kennel and anything like that, but it's also available to be used, and it's discretionary, and it's available to be used in next year's budget by the ACO in the town of Thompson. So say if you set that line, say if you reduce that line by $5,000, you made it a $30,000 budget, that is something that can be made to work. Do you know what I'm saying?
So Suzanne, Aaron McGarry, so you're saying if we were to, I'll just put this out as a possibility. So the budget for 1920 was 24,292, and the selectmen proposed for FY21 is 35,072. So if we were to say reduce the 35 down to, I'll just use a round number, 25, we could take that $10,000 out of the $68,000 dog fund.
It's to my understanding.
Okay.
That yes, it can be used that way. Orla, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
I believe that's correct.
This is Steve, Board of Finance. I'd really like to make sure we know exactly what we can and can't do. If there's income because of this fund, then maybe on our income line, we ought to show the $10,000 you're describing as income. I don't know if it's really income for us or not, but I'd really like to make.
It's not income for the town. That's what I'm telling you. It is owned by the ACO. It's not income for the town. Am I correct, Orla?
Yes, no, it's not. No, the money that comes in, it gets submitted back to the state.
Exactly.
It gets submitted back to the state? I don't know what that means.
Parts of it, it's broken down.
Yes, the town, I think the town receives $1 of it.
Oh, that's that's of the dog licensing fee.
Yes, that's right.
$1 out of the $7 stays with the town. The rest of it goes back to the state. But that's not, I don't think that's what you're describing, Suzanne, of the 69,000 you're talking about.
Well, of the 69,000, that includes the $1 that have been accumulating over the years.
And that's required to be used for in-town expense?
For the ACO.
For the services of the ACO.
Yes, right.
Well, there's a lot of towns in the area that use NECOG as their animal control service. And I assume that they also get the $1 on our licensing fees and so forth. It sounds like we need to know a bit more about this. I'm going to suggest that, Aaron, I like your thought. If there's a way to defer this decision for a year, save a few bucks, now's the time to do it.
Rhonda Rooney, Board of Finance. Can I speak, please?
Go ahead, Rhonda.
I'm looking at an email dated April 9th from Orla, which goes over animal control FY20.
Can't hear you very well.
Okay, I'm going to get right up to the computer. I'm looking at can you hear me?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. I'm looking at an email dated April 9th from Orla regarding animal control, and it shows here the FY 2021 proposed budget, budget proposed, and then at the end it says $45,213, which included an additional 20% for benefits. And then it shows it going down the following year to 39,000, assuming, they have it up and running and now it goes down. And then to outsource it to NECOG, it's a flat 30,954 both years. So for those of you that wanted to know the actual number, if this is accurate, it looks as though it is slightly less to outsource it to NECOG if we're only looking at, the money end of it. And this is still up to date. I'm not sure if it is Orla or not, but I did receive this email on April 9th.
Yes, does it show, I don't have the access to the document at the moment, but Rhonda, how many hours does it show for the ACO at the top?
Hold on. 22 to 25 hours per week, approximately 23,000. And then it says a trainer for animal control, 6 hours per week.
So actually I did, I believe I sent out a revised version of that, bringing that down to 19 hours a week from 22 to 25. Let me see if I can access that document from here. Just bear with me 1 second. I may not be able to share it, but I can double check the numbers.
Rob Wirch, Board of Finance, you did send it out on April 20th. That was the adjustment that you made.
So what are the totals on that, Ryan?
The totals on that?
Yeah, outsourcing versus keeping it in-house.
Rob Mann, Board of Finance. There was one other thing that we had discussed was that we pay them, I believe, per capita, but we also pay them per call. So the number, I remember in the discussion that the cost for NECOG could be drastically higher if they were called to our town more often.
Rob, no, I think it's a set fee for the town, if you go with the contract with them.
Suzanne, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, I do. Suzanne Witkowski. When you go with the contract, it is a contracted amount and that's it. But right now we're paying per call.
Oh, okay, so now we're paying. Oh, thank you.
One more question for Suzanne.
I can barely hear you, Rhonda.
Okay, I'm going to get right up. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties today. If we
No
were
worries.
to contract with them for 1 year, because if it happens to be less expensive, I'm not looking at the data because I don't have it in front of me. Would we be able to do a 1-year contract, or do we have to do it for like a 5-year period?
I believe it's year to year.
Thank you.
But can I just say something that what the Board of
Go ahead,
Finance
Susan.
would set the dollar amount for this budget. It would actually be up to the Board of Selectmen as to whether they wanted to try to make it work with the dollar amount that you set, or whether they'd want a contract.
Perfect. Thank you.
So all you have to do is really set the bottom line.
Thank you, Suzanne.
So
No
I
problem.
found
Aaron McGarrett, Board of
that extra document. This is Orla. I'll just speak briefly. Oh gosh, where is this? Forget it. Aaron, talk. I gotta find something.
Oh, go ahead. So I'm looking at the document that was attached to an April 20th email from the Finance Director to the Board of Finance, and it references 2401 animal control. It says for FY21 budget proposed, NECOG would be $30,594. Does that sound correct?
That's what it is on my previous letter. What about what we're looking at?
Can't hear you, Rhonda.
Oh, the one thing that would have been different is it was reduced on the other end for the, if we were to keep it in-house. So from my email, what's that total?
I will get the defined, there is actually a revised document that I'm not seeing in my email right now, which actually reduced those hours down to 19, which it affected the comparison that I shared with you guys on the 20th of April. Let me do some research and resend that out to you guys tomorrow morning, if that's okay.
Sure. Aaron McGarrett, Board of Finance. So I think Suzanne makes a compelling argument. That's why I wanted to make sure I'm looking at the right document here. If the Board of Finance were to say, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the other 5, but if we were to say, okay, NECOG would cost $30,594, and right now doing it in-house, the selectmen proposed is $35,072. Let's authorize $30,594 to 2401 canine control operation, and then let the Board of Selectmen figure out whether or not they want to do this in-house or go with NECOG. If I follow Suzanne correctly, if that's what she was suggesting, that's okay with me. That's just speaking on behalf of myself.
Rhonda Rooney, Board of Finance. And
Thanks, Rob.
I'm okay with that as well.
Welcome.
Suzanne, just wanted to make sure, is that what you were inviting?
Suzanne Witkowski, yes. Aaron, that is what I'm suggesting, is that if you are to fund this department for $30,000 or whatever it would cost to contract with NECOG, then the Board of Selectmen would be able to move forward and decide what they would like to do with that $30,000 in that department. And they can offset it. That can be offset with the $69,000. That's basically what I was trying to say.
Got it, meaning the Board of Selectmen, Aaron McGarry, the Board of Selectmen is authorized to tap into that dog fund independently if they choose to do so. Or you could come.
The Board of Selectmen is not, it's how the animal control officer would spend the money and make that work.
Rob, me and
And if necessary,
But the
go
Board
ahead,
of Selectmen.
go ahead, Bob Woods.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
But the Board of Selectmen would be authorized to make the decision, to either decide to outsource it or to keep it in-house.
Thank you, Suzanne. Go ahead, Rob Mann.
Yeah, I believe they wanted the line item is what they basically wanted for animal control as a town service, rather than having it, show as NECOG. So then they could always change that as long as it was used for animal control.
Rhonda Rooney, Board of Finance. What were they requesting for NECOG last year? What was that amount? I don't know where it is on my paperwork.
Can't hear you, Rhonda.
How much were you?
It sounds like. Go ahead, Rhonda.
I was wondering what was in that line item for last year under NECOG. Was it 30,000? Was it less than that? What was it?
On what did NECOG charge?
This is Rob Wurge, Board of Finance. 24,292 was last year's budget number. 24,292.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion.
Oh, yeah.
I have a suggestion. If I could speak, Aaron,
get out
for
of
a
my-
moment.
Go ahead, Rob Wurge.
One thought here. It seems like we're spending a lot of time over, a few $1,000s. I know every few thousand is important, but I might suggest that what we could do is we spent 24,292 in last year's budget. If we propose 24,292 this year, there's no increase in the overall budget, so it's not gonna impact this year's numbers. And if we were to align on that and approve 24,292, then the selectmen can decide whether they want to go to NECOG or they want to do that internally. Could somebody go on mute? There's a lot of banging and noise in the background. Very distracting.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
That was me,
That's okay.
I think.
Thank you, Suzanne. So what I'm suggesting is if we offer the 24,292, it's not the 35,000 that was requested, but there's a significant amount of money to decide whether to continue with NECOG or to start to bring it in-house and do the training and pull from the funds if they so choose. So that would be my suggestion, to peg it at last year's number and kind of move into another topic.
Just want to make sure that's going to cover it because we know that NECOG contract is FY 21-30. So I'm okay with doing 25 as long as we know that we're going to have to tap into the dog fund in order to make it go, I believe. That would be my impression. Suzanne? You're muted, Suzanne.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
I
Suzanne.
didn't realize I was muted. I don't know if that is enough to make it work. I'm not sure how it worked last year with the 24, other than it was based on per call. But whatever you put into that department, somehow we will make it work, I believe, I want to say. So, because if it were the 25, then we would have to go with in-house, but I believe that's the direction that the Board of Selectmen wants to take anyway. So whatever you put into that department, with the knowing that we have the dog catcher savings account, we will make it work.
In the chat box, Amy Santa says, I think we can make it work. Amy, to clarify, do you mean that you think you can make 25,000 work? or
Hi,
30,000 more?
Aaron, Amy St. Ange, based on the information that Suzanne has provided us in regard to the fund, the 69,000, et cetera, I really think we can make it work. We will.
The
We will.
25 or the 30? The
Pardon?
25,000 or the 30,000?
Oh, no, the 20, whatever Rob Ward suggested. In these times, we'll
Great.
figure it out. We'll make it work.
I make a
agree.
motion.
Suzanne
Go ahead.
Bukowski,
Go ahead, Susan.
I agree. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Great.
interrupt.
No worries. No, no
Suzanne,
worries.
I'm going to agree with Amy. We're going to make it work. And then, you know, we can look at next year, but I think that we can make it work.
So I'll make a motion that we flatline 2401 K-9 control operation for the coming fiscal year as suggested by Rob Ward. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Rob Mann, Board of Finance.
So, okay, there's a motion and a second to flat fund, to basically fund at the same level as last year, 2401 K-9 control operation. Jim Bellavance, how do you vote? I'll come back to him. Rob Mann, how do you vote?
Yes.
Steve Herbert, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rhonda Rooney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob Word, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Jim Bellavance, are you there? Sounds like we don't have Jim Bellavance, but this on this particular vote is 5 yes, and nobody voted no. So let the record show that the 2401 K-9 control operation is now flat funded from last year. And that means it's going to be 24,292. 24,292. I'm going to circle that in my book. Thank you. All right, maybe we can go back to that document that, there we go. And so we were on animal control, but I think we were, we had gone into assessor, and Orla had said she considers that to be an essential. And then I think she was about to get into budget building official.
Okay, just bear with me 1 second. I'm just gonna scroll up here.
It's up from there.
I think you need to request control again.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry.
When I stopped sharing that kind of cut you off.
Okay,
You're back.
okay, thank you. Okay, so just let me make that necessary change here. I have it in my notes, but I'm gonna make the change for our discussion right now. Okay, so.
So it's $10,780 on Rob Word's Board of Finance.
Yes.
That's the amount reduced. Oh, there it is right there.
Oh, hang on. I did something silly.
Aaron, when she's done, this is Rhonda Rooney, Board of Finance. Apologize for that. Can we go back to the Public Works Department for a second?
Sure,
Yes,
just bear
thank you,
with me
Rhonda.
1 second. Okay, there.
Thank you, Orla. Request from Rhonda to go back to Public Works.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rhonda.
Would you like me to bring up the full file on the screen, or is this box what you were looking for me to look at?
You can bring up the full file if you'd like. That'd be fine.
Sure. Okay, this is now Public Works is made up of a number of different departments, and one of them includes what we call the Public Works Department.
Okay, I might be in the wrong department. I want to be in the department with the roads and the bridges.
Okay, that's actually in capital. Let me just go into capital and transfers.
Jim Bellavance, Board of Finance. Can you hear me yet?
I can, Jim.
Oh, finally. Thank you.
So I have a question for Amy. I did speak to her briefly.
Rob Mann, Board of Finance. I just was gonna suggest to Aaron that he maybe bring Jim up to date with our last motion. and vote.
Yep. I can do that in a moment. I just want to give Rhonda an opportunity to ask while her thought is in motion. Go ahead, Rhonda. Can't hear you, Rhonda.
Whatever order you want to do is fine with me, Aaron. If you want to catch him up first, that's fine.
Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
So Amy had mentioned that, you know, in order of importance, the salt shed would be very important, that possibly the bridges could be taken out of the budget. Amy, what are your thoughts on that? Could you kind of give us a little bit more information on that?
Hi, everyone. Amy St. Ange. And again, I'm only speaking for myself and my own opinion. This isn't necessarily the opinion of our DPW director. And I don't necessarily think that the bridges, the 50,000 that Suzanne and I had voted to put towards potential bridge inspections, et cetera, and bridge work. But I think the salt shed is something that we really have to begin working towards, and I don't want to lose that amount of money. But if we had to potentially lose something from this budget, that possibly the bridge inspections and the bridge repairs, et cetera, might be the place to go. I know that everything else in Rich's budget is of necessity. We know that our townspeople want to see work done on the roads. Rich has, you know, plans for what he's going to efficiently utilize the money. He's really presented a fantastic budget. And I wouldn't want to see anything else taken away. But if we had to, that might be the area where we could squeeze out and sacrifice something. But again, I reiterate that I'm only speaking from my own opinion and not from our DPW director.
Aaron McGarry, Board of Finance. Amy, I got a question for you. Is it possible for the Director of Public Works, if this bridge work / assessment money was taken away, and I wrote / assessment because based on the dialogue that we had about this line item, if this were taken away, would the Department of Public Works, would that director be authorized to allocate any part of road resurfacing towards bridge work assessment if he thought that it was reasonable and necessary? Meaning he would still have the discretion to do this, even if we were to technically liquidate this line item, could he still do work of that nature?
I would imagine he would be able to. If it became
because
something of urgent nature.
Because a bridge is part of a road and a road is part of a bridge, so to speak.
Correct.
So I guess where I'm going with this is if we were to consider your guidance here and we were to eliminate the bridge work / assessment line item, we wouldn't necessarily be completely tying the hands of the Director of Public Works because he didn't come to the Board of Selectmen with this separate line item in the first place. This was a line item that was created by the Board of Selectmen.
Well, no, that's not completely accurate. What we did was he had initially requested 500,000 for roads in his capital budget. And we took $100,000 out of that and separated it between bridge work and the salt shed. Because those were two items during our budget workshop with Rich. Those were two items that he stressed would be something that we would have to start considering. And we just wanted to make sure that it was something that gained attention. And so in essence, we reduced his roads budget.
Got it. So he said this is something that you would want to start paying attention to, meaning he was opening the door to the possibility of creating a separate line item for that in the future anyways. I just want to make sure that, and I'm okay with eliminating this item called bridge work / assessment. I just want to make sure that we're not preventing him from allocating any of his road resurfacing dollars in that direction if he felt reasonable and necessary.
Right. Correct.
And if that's the case, just speaking strictly on behalf of my own self, I would be okay with removing the bridge work / assessment line item of $50,000. I would be okay with that.
It's Amy St. Ange. Again, it's one of those moments where we have to find areas that we can make cuts to make this budget work. just again, it's unprecedented times. And I think a lot of residents, I think the wave is still coming as far as what we're going to face financially, fiscally, economically. So.
Rhonda, are you trying to speak?
Yes, Rhonda Rooney, Board of Finance, I'm sorry. I have to agree with the situation that's going on. I mean, as long as we can keep things at status quo with the town and the roads and stuff like that, I think, you know, possibly the following year, you know, when things get better, we can start putting more money in these areas. So I'm good with removing the bridge work as well, that 50,000, just speaking for myself. So I wanted to put that out there. I think it's very critical that we keep money to get moving on something with the salt shed. And I also wanted to say that in this department, it looks like we were funding 2019 and 2020 to approximately 250 and 270 into roads, and now we've increased it to 400 into roads. So that is an increase, and I do understand that Rich needs to accumulate dollars, you know, maybe 1.5 million to start doing roads like he did last year. But this is kind of just building the kitty up, so to speak, I think. Am I correct here, Amy, on this with the extra 400,000? Is it just to kind of start saving for that, or is it for imminent needs that you're going to do work on this year in the roads?
From what I understand, that 400,000 is definitely something that's needed. Rich is currently working to put together a connector road grant or a collector road grant for Quadic Road. If anybody's familiar with Quadic Road, it's one of the next roads that really needs attention. It's a fully funded, well, sorry, I take that back. 10% of it would be covered by us, but other than that, it's a fully funded grant. But we would need the money up front to begin the work, so it's a reimbursement grant. There's a lot of things that Rich has planned, continuing moving forward with repair work, etc. So he really does need the funds in order to continue the work that he has planned. He needs all of that 400,000 in the roads budget.
One question on that. You had mentioned that he has a project that is 10% can come from, that has to come for us, but he has to fully fund it before getting reimbursed. There have been situations in the past with grants that we approved to move the money out of fund balance to initially fund that and then get reimbursed later. Is that something that we could potentially do in this line item for next year? And if so, what is that amount is my question.
From, again, what I understand is that the amount, it's a $700,000 project. So ultimately it would cost the town in the end $70,000, but it's something that he does want to try to work towards.
Right, but right now he wouldn't even have the 700 in there for next year, if that's what he was saving this money for. So what I'm saying is, if he were to do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Orla, that we could, you know, basically front the money out of fund balance, and then when the project is completed and we get the grant money back in, it goes back into fund balance, and the only part that would come out of the department would be the 70,000 or the 10%, which would bring this number down, if you will, for 1 year, if that's the only thing he was going to be utilizing these funds for. And I'm just trying to look at big numbers and different ways to be creative, so that we can bring the budget down for this 1 year. So, Orla,
Rhonda, an answer to your question, that in theory, that is correct. However, keep in mind the timing. To fund $750,000 out of fund balance is a substantial percentage of our fund balance. And regardless of what we're funding and regardless of the amount of reimbursement, we have to spend it 100% up front before you can submit for reimbursement. And I know the last project we had a bridge project on, I think it took the best part of about 18 months to get the full reimbursement back. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And again, I'm not sure of the parameters of this specific project. It may be something that gets funded up front, but most likely not. But in theory, you are correct.
And Amy
Rob,
St.
Rob,
Sorry, Amy St.
Go ahead, Rob Wurge. Go ahead, Amy St. Ange. Go ahead, Amy St. Ange.
Again, this is something that, Rich, we're just in the beginning stages of. It's just something that's on his radar, something that he knows he wants to start at some point. But in the meantime, there are a multitude of jobs that he has lined up that he's going to need funding in order to fix various issues with our road system. So I think the concession here is that I'm offering 50,000 from his budget. He's not offering it by any means.
Agreed.
I just think in these times, we all have to give a little. And that's a big hit to his budget.
Okay, go ahead, Rob Wurge.
yeah, I was going to offer along the lines of where Rhonda was going and the discussion with Orla around having that substantial amount in fund balance. Could we do a combination where some of it comes out of the fund balance and some of it's finance, short-term finance, until the project's reimbursed? So just building on that level of creativity, you got 70,000 we would need, and whatever portion of the 700 that we can't support out of fund balance, we would finance, and then we'd have on that finance, we would just have an interest expense line. So now we're getting $700,000 worth of roads at 70,000 plus some interest on top of that. Orla, is that a possibility?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Jim Bellavance, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Jim.
That's a real solid plan, Rob. That makes a lot of sense doing it that way. Because then we get the job done. Because that road is a nightmare. I travel it 3 to 4 times a day, and the road is absolutely falling apart.
Go ahead, Rob Wurge.
Thanks, Jim. I was just going to say, I just built on really Rhonda's work there. I don't want to, Rhonda was really kind of framing it up. I just kind of jumped on it to come up with an end point that might be a little more creative. So thank you, Rhonda.
So Aaron McGarry, Board of Finance. So this talk of the $700,000 and doing some mix of financing, I just want to make sure, forgive me if I wasn't paying attention, but is the bridge work / assessment line item connected to that in any substantial way?
No, I was just going through the whole department.
Can't hear you, Rhonda.
I was just going through the whole department here in this page, just to kind of see where we could bring things down and where we could be creative. So just starting the conversation, I can put a motion out on 50,000, and then basically I wanted to take a look at that money in roads to see if that was the one project that he was looking at, and that's where the extra increase from 270 to 400 was coming from, that maybe we could potentially reduce that and have some creative way, as Rob had mentioned, of coming up with that money so he can still move forward with that project, and we could take some money out of this year's budget. That's what I'm looking at. And again, I just wanted to say to Rob and anybody else on this call, I'm not about taking credit for anything. I just want to do what's best for everybody in the town and work together as a team. So whether I decide or you decide or somebody else decides or has ideas, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not offended, Rob, so don't even worry about that.
I know. I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
Aaron McGarry, Board of Finance. So I'm prepared to make a motion, and I don't want to do this yet. I don't want to formalize it yet, but I'm prepared to make a motion to eliminate the bridge work / assessment $50,000 line item from this budget. And I just want to make sure that I'm not doing something that's going to mess with other plans that folks have just been talking about in the last few minutes.
That's a good point.
This is Steve, Board of Finance. I agree with your thinking, Aaron.
Meaning to take that out?
Yes.
All right. Rhonda, are you okay with taking this out?
I'm okay with taking that out.
Can't hear you.
Rhonda, can't hear you.
I'm okay with taking the bridge out, but my question would be what you had mentioned, Aaron, is part of this project that he wanted to get the grant for. Are these is this bridge work part of that project, or is that something totally separate that we're talking about here?
Amy?
This is Amy St. Ange. That is totally separate from anything that I mentioned about Quadic Road.
Great. So then I'm going to make a motion that we eliminate bridge work / assessment, $50,000 from this budget. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Sounds like Jim Bellavance has the second. So I'm going to go right down the list here. Jim Bellavance, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob Mann, how do you vote?
Yes.
Steve Herbert, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rhonda Rooney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob Woods, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. This one passes 6-0. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to strike bridge work / assessment out of the document that I'm looking at. So now we can go back to, or can we go back to? I just want to make sure, is there anything else that folks wanted to look at in the transfer section before we go back to that sheet that showed all the ups and downs? Go ahead, Rhonda.
No, I just wanted to throw those ideas out there for further on down the budget. I'd like to see once Orla goes through all the department heads that showed increases, where we are with the final number before I would make any motions on taking any money out of road work.
Great, thanks.
This is Steve.
Is everybody okay with it? Rob? Wait, it sounded like, Rob, it sounded like Steve had beat you by a second. Steve?
Yeah, I think so.
Just looking at the same transfer page, we talked a little bit about this earlier, the roll-off truck, if that is in fact not deferrable for a year, is there an opportunity for us to acquire it this year, this fiscal year 2020, and thereby save $43,478 from next year's budget?
Thoughts on that, folks?
Jim Bellavance, Board of Finance. That's been my wish all along, that we would do that.
Aaron, this is Orla here. Just
Go ahead, Orla.
I haven't shared with you guys. I did run some numbers through the end of March and what's coming in through the end of April. And I know I briefly shared with you guys, but I don't think we're going to have much of a surplus. I think we're going to break even this year. So I'm not sure whether, when you say, Steve, are you suggesting maybe taking some money out of contingency in the current year's budget? Or were you considering taking funds out of fund balance? Because I really don't want to touch fund balance right now.
I guess I would consider both options. Take what we can from contingency and the rest from the fund balance.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned to you guys, I think it was Monday, I'm reviewing the numbers weekly. So, you know, obviously everything seemed to change. You know, one week we think we're going to be getting additional revenue in, and then Rainey gives us that information today. And so at the moment, I'm going to say we're probably not going to have any money in the current year's budget, but I'm not going to say for sure at this stage.
I'm not suggesting come out of the current year's budget as much as it is from our balance, what we have in total.
Yeah, I know our fund balance is down low. That's the only thing. I mean, even with the appropriations for the most recent, which is, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember what it is. The oil tank replacement, which we're not going to see that money for a while. We're down to less than 8%. So, you know, as we go to next fiscal year, the one thing we need to keep in mind is the fund balance percentage reduces every time our budget goes up. So just food for thought. But okay, I'll keep an eye on it.
Orla?
Yep.
This is Amy St. Ange. Aaron, can I speak?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, I know we had the conversation with Rich and he mentioned possibly pulling some of the money from the salt, the balance in the salt account. I think it was 132,000. I thought that the conversation had circled around possibly utilizing some of that money, maybe some of the money that he would have left from this year's budget, etc. Was that still something that was on the table or no?
No, it still could be on the table. I just brought up that snow removal budget in front of me. As you see, we have this open purchase order for 135,000. But keep in mind, you know, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for Rich, but he already is reduced for next year on his salt budget of $25,000.
I totally agree, and we discussed that the other day, Orla, where I said if for some reason that's 135,000 was transferred to something else, that we would definitely want to put that 25 back into the salt account for next year.
Okay.
Again, I'm just questioning, that's all. I thought maybe that's where Steve was, you know, where his question was coming from.
No, this, Steve, no, not, I mean, I think the reduction in spending this year on salt, really isn't Rich's or really isn't belong to the DPW, belongs to the town. So I don't look at that offset. If we need the truck, we need the truck. If we don't need the truck, we don't buy it because we have some extra money in salt this year. I just have a little different philosophy about that.
Can I speak, Rhonda Rooney, Board of Finance?
Go ahead, Rhonda. Can't hear you though.
Okay. So Amy, that was something that we did discuss, just, to reaffirm what you're saying. Orla, if we were to take, and I think what we're trying, and what Rich had mentioned is with that money, he could dig out some other money that he had in the current year's budget and actually pay cash for this piece of equipment. So that is something that we could take a look at. But as Steve mentioned, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, that this money that would just roll over into fund balance for next year, and we could, have it be blended into the entire budget as a whole. So how do we feel about this, Board of Finance members? Is this something that you'd want to do, or do you want to blend it over, have it roll over into the full budget, or?
Rob Wirge, Board of Finance. Before we discuss or decide on that, Rhonda, I'd be interested in Orla giving us guidance on whether whether there's even anything there to roll over or discuss. And what I'm hearing is that we spent a lot less on salt and we spent a lot more on many other things, and that the fund balance is so low that we're not sitting on $130,000 to decide on, and we're going to go into next year without that advantage or without that money. Is that correct, Orla, or do we have it wrong?
Yes, that is correct, Rob. Yeah, our fund balance is low. Yes, we might have this 135,000 to spend, but and I've already built spending this 35,000 into this potential break even that we will have. But either way, yeah, we're pretty low on this. I don't recall what the overall purchase price of the roll-off is. I know he was looking to trade in some, Amy, do you remember offhand what the dollar amount was we were originally talking about, if he was going to trade in the existing truck?
I think he was, and that was worth about 25,000, and the total cost was in the 198 number, something like that, 184.
Yeah. 198 minus the trade-in.
Okay.
Right, I believe in the 20s.
Yeah, so I think the 136 could certainly go towards it, but it doesn't leave a lot for anything else. So it's just a matter of playing with, with moving around the dollars where we're going to use it with the most effective way. But, as I say, at the moment, we still have 135,000 to spend on salt. So we need to determine what we're going to spend it on.
One question, Orla, Rhonda Rooney.
Rhonda, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Rhonda.
So I guess my question would be, we definitely need this truck.
Can you increase the volume?
I can hear you now. Just as long as you're close to that microphone.
Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Okay. This is as loud as I can go. So what I'm asking here is, we need this truck, from my understanding from Rich and everybody else up at the transfer station. So do you think we should finance this and just leave it the way it is, or look into these numbers is my question for Orla or, the board?
I don't like the idea of additional fund financing. We already have a lot of debt. So in the greatest world possible, I would say buy this for cash. Aaron
McGarry, Board of Finance, just speaking strictly on behalf of my own self, I say we either finance it or we skip it. Because we don't have the money. I don't think we have the money to buy a 192 minus $25,000 truck. Right now, I got a feeling that we've got some very serious heavy lifting in front of us. So just my own opinion, that's it. I only speak on behalf of myself.
Jim Belvance, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Jim.
According to what Rich told us, he's going to have a surplus in his budget, and he feels as though he could pay for this truck out of the current budget he's got sitting in front of him right now. That's what he discussed with us.
Rob Mann.
I might, go ahead, Rob Mann.
No, I had some of my notes here. I know initially when we spoke to Rich, he had said a trade-in was possible of 22 to 25,000. And then later on, he had said that somebody he had actually talked to somebody later on, and it was 25 to 28,000 for trade-in possible. He at that time, which this is the 9th, he had 141,000 still in snow removal and maintenance. And he figured last year that the truck was paid off. I think that was the tipping point that Orla had said the budget already had shown that, and he thought that that was an extra 35,000 that just wasn't there because it was already expended. So he thought there was another 35,000, and that was where we kind of started losing ground on the being able to pay it off. Obviously, I'm sure he has had a plan to do some things, but that 35,000 out of that was not there as I got written down here. The price for the truck was $192,000, as Steve had said.
Is Rich on this call?
Can't hear you, Rhonda.
Is Rich on the Zoom meeting tonight?
He is not.
Yeah, this is Amy Sanon. She's not on the meeting tonight.
Rob Wirge, Board of Finance.
Go ahead, Rob.
Two suggestions. One is that we hold this decision. We're kind of right back where we were the last time we were on this topic, and I feel like I'm not ready for a yes or a no. What I'm ready for is to keep it open as part of the overall discussion, and as as we revert back to the other file, when we decide what stays and what goes, let's make that decision on whether this stays or goes in the context of all the other moving pieces against a pretty nominal increase that we're talking about. We got a $1.8 million ask, and we're looking at a $370,000 movement potentially. I know that's not set, but potentially. So I would hold off again on making the decision, and then the ask would be, what would it take to defer for one more year? I know we need the truck. I'm also hearing that the asset's worth $35,000. What would it cost us to do the repairs that it needs and milk one more year out of it? If that's 10 or 15,000, we might want to spend 10 or 15,000 on an asset we know we need to retire. But given all the other circumstances this year, we may very well believe that that's a better decision and bring this back up next year in a different climate.
And Rob Wirge, to your point, when I say financial to skip it, what I mean is skip it for a year, not skip it altogether. That's all I mean. So agreed with you that if we can squeeze one more year out of this, that would be great as far as I'm concerned. Anyone else?
Jim Bellavance. I think that's a good idea. I think what we should do is have Rich talk to us for a couple of minutes at our next meeting. Just give us an update on where he's at. Maybe there's some hidden things going on with that truck that we don't know about. I think we all have a couple of questions for him before we can make a decision on this.
Rob Mann, Board of Finance, I agree.
Rhonda, you trying to talk?
Yes, I agree. I'm fine with moving forward without addressing this for now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm noticing it's 9 p.m. What do you want to do?
I would make a motion to adjourn, Aaron, if you accept a motion like that.
All right, so there's a motion to adjourn. Rhonda, were you about to say something? There's a motion on the floor.
I was just going to ask how many more meetings do we have?
Can't hear you, but it sounds like you're saying how many more meetings? 2 more.
2.
So my thoughts are, let's hope that at the next 2 meetings we don't encounter any technical difficulties that swallow up 45 minutes, and let's make sure that we keep our discussion pointed and succinct and sharp, because I think we've all had a lot of opportunity to hear a lot of talk a lot of talk about a lot of items and a lot of programs. And I think we've all had the opportunity to do some discerning. And I think in the next 2 meetings, we're actually going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting. So I know this is a democracy, and I never want to prevent anyone from being able to speak as much as they want to, which is why up until this point, we've had a lot of dialogue. So I think in the next 2 meetings, I think sort of the theme for the next 2 meetings is it's time to pull the trigger on some things that we've had our eyes on, and not to be afraid, and let's just get this done, because we've got a lot of work to do in the next 2 meetings. That being said, there is a motion on the floor to adjourn. That motion was made by Rob Words. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that, Rhonda.
Rhonda's got the second. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? That's 6-0. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting this evening.
And
This meeting
we're back
is-
on
is
Monday?
adjourned.
Are we back on
Monday night.
Okay.
Monday night.
Sounds great, guys. Everybody have a good weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.